Hey folks, Roland Martin here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today's topic is how to cast a spinning rod for the beginner. You know, I get a lot of requests and a lot of people asking me questions like that. There are a lot of people just starting out fishing and they want to know a lot more about it. There's a lot of fine points on how to use a spinning rod. Now, before I cast the spinning rod, let's talk about the rod and reel itself. Okay, what do you want to have? Well, what I recommend, first of all, is a 7-foot rod. A 7-foot spinning rod, it seems to be the all-around rod. Now, here we're in South Florida, but it also works in Minnesota, it works on the West Coast, it works just about everywhere in the world. A 7-foot medium action spinning rod is what you need to start with. Okay, that's what we're talking about for the beginner. I'm a pro, and guess what I have? I have a 7-foot medium action rod as well. Okay, and now, what do you need for a reel? Well, as a beginning fisherman, you need a freshwater size reel. This is about a size 30 reel. And so remember that size because that's really important. I did a video not long ago about how to get a rod and reel, how the beginner should buy a rod and reel. And I talked all about a budget rod and reel. For about $100, you can get a really fine rod and reel, either in a combination or buying them singly by themselves. So let's say this is a $100 rod. It's not. I'm a pro fisherman. This is a far more expensive rod and reel, but it would cast like the $100 rod that I talked about. Okay, now what do I have on the rod? Well, in this case I have braid. And why do I have braid? Well, as a beginner fisherman, you could use monofilament as well. Monofilament's a lot less expensive, but it doesn't have, it stretches and it's not as strong. I like braid for two reasons. Number one, I fish Lake Okeechobee, I fish the Everglades, I'm fishing a lot of heavy weeds and cover. Now today we're not in heavy weeds and cover, so I could use monofilament. But so much of my fishing is around heavy weeds and cover. So the beginner should first of all think, is he going to be fishing in heavy cover, or is that beginner fisherman going to be out in open water like this lake right here? Okay, so that's a big consideration. If I'm going to be in heavy cover, I'm going to use braid. This is 20-pound braid. Now the advantage of braid over monofilament is this: 20-pound is stronger than say 10-pound monofilament. We know that. But it's more sensitive. You can feel the strike so much better, and you can set the hook so much better. So for heavy weeds and cover, it's the perfect solution. Plus, the other plus about braid is that braid, 20-pound braid, outcasts 10-pound monofilament 2-to-1. It goes another 30% farther. So the braid is thin, it casts farther and better, it's more sensitive, and of course it's stronger for the heavy brush and cover. So I like braid a lot. But the drawback with braid, it's 2 or 3 times more expensive. I mean, to fill up this reel with braid costs like $15 or $20. To fill up this reel with monofilament, say 10-pound monofilament, probably costs $2. So it's a lot of difference in price and so on. Okay, let's talk about the cast. Well, before we make the cast, we got to have a lure of some sort. And I chose this 3/8 of an ounce weight. It's a casting demo weight. It's just great for your backyard stuff. If you have dogs and stuff, you don't want to have treble hooks stuck in everything in the whole world. Anyway, that's a great little plug, and the 3/8 of an ounce is just about what you want. And you look on the rod, this rod states it's cast well 1/4 ounce to 3/4 of an ounce line weight. 6 to 14-pound test line. They're talking about monofilament when they're talking 6 to 14. So I have 20-pound braid, but you could also have 10-pound monofilament, for example. This rod is just a couple inches over 7 foot. It's a medium heavy action. Okay, this is a Pro Series rod, quite expensive. Okay, now let's talk about the cast. We have a 3/8 of an ounce lure. We have braid that's going to cast a long ways. Where do you put, as a beginner fisherman, I mean, how do you hold it? I've seen people reel like this. Well, I'm right-handed, and so basically a right-handed person holds it with his right hand, he does his casting with his right hand, and he reels with the left hand. That's what a normal right-handed person does. A left-handed person would cast with their left hand and probably reel with their right hand. So it's kind of opposite. But these reels are interchangeable. You notice, see there's little buttons on the side? In just 2 seconds, I can unscrew this and put the handle over here. So some people do like right-handed retrieve on a reel, but since the reels have an interchangeable handle, you could go either side. I just am right-handed. I have more control, more power by casting with my right hand. Now, I just don't really just cast with my right hand. A lot of people just think, well, you just cast like this. Well, that's all wrong for me. Number one, the lure itself is right up on the rod tip. That's not good. And number two, I'm just using one hand. I always double-handed rod. It gives me a little bit more power. It gives me a little bit more accuracy. And everything's just a lot better when I use two hands on the rod. One here and one there. Now, where do you hold, when you grab a rod, where do you hold it? You can hold it here. You can put your fingers there. You can push your fingers there. The problem with putting your fingers there is that you have to be able to flip that bail over. And see, you have to be able to grab that line with your finger where you can't reach it. You can't reach that line with your finger. If you put your finger right here in the middle, well, you can kind of reach it, but that's a long reach for me. So what I do, and what I've always done, is use the reel seat with my third finger. Now my finger is right above the bail. So however big your hand is a big consideration. But basically, some people would even hold it maybe even up here, but no, that's too far for me. So you want to be just above. You want to have your finger come out when you hold the rod. You want your finger to come out just above the bail. Okay. So now we're getting close. We're getting close to the cast. Before I cast, let me get a little bit of line out on the rod. I like to get a little bit of line out, about a foot, okay? A foot to maybe 18 inches. That is what I like to throw because that's a pendulum. It makes your cast a little farther. You can actually, with that pendulum, it swings a bigger arc. And so there's more speed involved with the lure. If you figure up close, the speed of the lure is less than out farther, a foot and a half. It gives you more speed on your cast. And so you're going to go farther just by having that pendulum. By having that little extra line, it's going to increase your distance by another 20 or so percent. So, okay, so you don't want that little pendulum. You don't want it right up on the rod tip. Okay, now, you know, the bail was closed, and so I come along and I take my finger right here, and now I take the line and hold it. Now I flip the bail over, okay? The only thing holding the thing on and ready to cast, if I let that finger go, it's going to just fall in the water, okay? So the whole concept now is to have your finger ready to go, and all I have to do when I go to cast is take my finger off of it, and it goes out there. Now there's a lot, okay, you want the pendulum. You get the pendulum right there. You want to cast it two-handed, okay, throw it out there. Now, do you cast sidearm? Do you cast overhand? What's the best way to cast? Well, if you cast sidearm, let me just show you what happens. If I'm aiming at that little bush out there, at that thing, and I come around like this, I don't know where it's going to go. I happen to go towards there because I do cast a little bit sidearm, and I know how to do it. But for the average person, if you throw sidearm, here's the problem. Here is for a beginner fisherman, if he were to throw at that thing, he might let it go too late, and all of a sudden, the lure's way out there. That's not good. So don't want to even think about casting sidearm. Okay, as a beginner fisherman, you got to think about an overhand cast, a two-handed overhand cast. Okay, let's get it set up now. Okay, let's get the line about 18 inches down. Let's get it on the reel. You can pull the drag a little bit. See, this drag is adjustable. That's about 18 inches now. Okay, hold it with two hands. Now I can go swing like this. I can just make a perfect, see, I can make a perfect swing like this. And I'm going to throw it at that little weed patch. I'm right in the middle of the weed patch because I can see the swing. I can see the swing. I can see it. Now, again, I'm fishing a lot of heavy cover, and I'm fishing weedless baits like a plastic worm. I'm fishing spinner baits. I'm fishing spoons and stuff. I'm fishing weedless stuff. So, when I'm fishing heavy cover. But the point is, the cast itself, again, what you want to do is take your finger and I look at the line. It's not way back up here. The line, beginner, is right here on the kind of the tip of your finger. So flip your bail over. Two-handed deal. Two-handed deal. I'm looking at it, and I kind of practice a little bit. Now, you can feather that line if you feel like you've gone too far. I'm not going to throw right to the weeds. I'm going to throw it. I'm going to pull it short, and I'm going to stop it because I can come back with my finger on the spool. Now watch my spool. I can come back right here on the spool and stop it. See, I stopped it just before it hit the reeds because I wanted to do that. I wanted to stop the line before it got there. Okay? Because you do it right here. Okay. Let's reel it in. Now, let's just say I just saw a fish breakaway out there. It was farther out than that little patch of weeds. So now what I want to do, beginner fisherman, is I want to hold the rod right here and I want to really power it. I want to really power it. So watch this. I want to really power it, really throw it out there, really a long ways. Look at that. I'm 100 feet out in the lake. That's where the fish jumped. So you can do that with braid because I have a braided line, a 20-pound braid cast exceptionally well. You can cast 100 feet so well. And now I just took advantage of seeing that fish. I have good prescription sunglasses and I can see fish pretty well. And I'm always looking for fish that jump or swirl or anything like that. The other thing that I'm doing as a fisherman and as I wear good eyewear, you know, you have lures to think about, you're pulling them off of trees and limbs. So always wear sunglasses or some kind of eye protection because it's important because you're liable to get a face full of lure and something in the eye is not a happy thing. Okay, so I have my glasses on. In addition to my glasses being eye protection, look at this rock. I can really see the rock good. Without the glasses, I can see some, but these are polarized glasses. These are polarized, and it means I can see stuff down in the water better. I can see that stump, I can see that log. With my polarized glasses, I can see things to throw at. And since I like to throw at stuff, again, I'm a target fisherman. I'm kind of a shallow water fisherman for the most part. I can throw at stuff I can see in the water. Okay, so I've shown you how to hold the rod. I've shown you how to have a pendulum swing. And I've shown you how to position the rod just perfectly like this. Now you could get a little bit more distance. You notice this braid is not quite full. I took some of the line off. I could put a little bit more line on, and that would give me a little bit more distance as well. So look at that spool, and that's not quite enough line. You wanted about 1/8 of an inch from the lip of the spool. That's about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, folks. Just for the demonstration, I'm going to throw a lure right in the middle of that little patch of weeds. Show you that it's not quite as accurate as casting tackle because you don't have quite the control, but spinning tackle has the distance, so that's a big deal. I have the line on the tip of my finger. I have the bail flipped over. I have a pendulum of about 18 inches on the rod. I'm holding it with 2 hands, and now I make a cast. Right into the weeds. Perfect cast, perfect deal. Ready to go, ready to catch a fish. Well, okay, that's not too hard. And really, when you do things right, when you cast a spinning rod the correct way, it can be really effective. And if you use a braid, for example, and a heavy enough rod, you can master almost all the fish here in South Florida. This rod and reel could actually be used for snook and small tarpon and redfish in the saltwater. So it's an altogether good deal. If I wanted to go up north, I could catch pike, I could catch walleye. This is the perfect combination. So for the beginner fisherman, hey, we got the deal. I've shown you how to cast. Hey, I've enjoyed doing this video. Thanks for watching my YouTube. And please hit that likes button. We'll see you again soon.